Hello, and welcome to Get Your Money Shit Together, day 26. Today's topic is creating residual income. And I want to talk to you about what residual income means. And there's a lot of conversation in markets about residual income, passive income, what does it mean, and use of terminologies that may not always make sense. So, first of all, let's talk about what is residual income and what is the difference between passive and residual. So passive income is when you have an investment or you have capital. So typically passive income is requiring capital. Remember, capital means just the money that you hold, not your spending money, but the money that you actually hold. So your asset called cash, that's your capital. So when you have that capital, you can put that into action, right? So I had a conversation this week with someone who says, hey, I think it's not a good idea to keep all of this cash that I have in just savings. And ding, 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 well done. So what you want to do is, first of all, you want to look for places where you can have passive income. And that means that you take your capital, your money, and you put it forward into an investment that is intended to earn more. Now, why would it earn more? Here's the idea. You have this perhaps cash that you don't really have a business you're operating to put it into, to have it bring more cash to you. You're simply saying, okay, whatever the savings rates are, I'll take. Well, someone else has an idea, an investment, a project, or it could be a major company and you can invest in stocks. So there are so many ways you can use that capital. Someone else will often need that capital. So often what happens is we're familiar with, we'd make deposits and then the banks make loans to people who need the money, and they do that based on the deposits of those of us who are saving. Well, that means that the bank gives you, if you're lucky, up to 2% if you get into some CDs and some things like that. But they're going out and reselling your money for 4, 8, 10, 18% when they're offering credit cards, right? So they're making that spread of that 4% all the way up to whatever the percentage rates are, their highest ones, on you and your money. And that's great that you have some savings. And I always say keep enough in your regular savings or something you have quick access to for emergencies. But beyond that, anywhere you can put your money, you just want to be aware of what's your potential use for it. And then what is the longevity or the timeline that you're going to potentially need it back. So the type of investment, the longer you can hold your money, the more interest you can earn. And so let's talk about interest, because this is not a money fundamental, but I want to talk to you right now about compound interest. And I think I've done this 30-day thing with an assumption of you understand and know what that is. And so let's just pause for a moment, because there's so much power in compound interest. And those worksheets, remember those worksheets I gave you way back at the beginning that you've been referring back to over and over and over? Now I want you to play with those. And we want to understand the power of compound interest. Compound interest is when the money that you have earns interest, right? So you put in $100, you get back 10, that would be a 10% interest rate. And then compound interest is when that 10% adds to the 100. Now you have $110, and the 110 will now earn your 10%. And you'll get $11 next time, right? So now we have 121, and now we're going to get $12.1 added. So it starts to add faster, faster, faster. It gets like a roller coaster, right? Like you get, but then it goes fast. And the cool thing is we call this, the snowball effect. That works for you in paying off debt. As you increase your payments and you pay something off, you have more to put to the next thing. So you pay faster and faster. The same thing happens when you save. The money that you have starts earning interest. That interest then goes to work for you. I mentioned before that I got some dividends recently. Turns out I also had Coke dividends a while ago and I totally missed it, but that wasn't my strategy back then. I was just playing. And so now I'm intentionally choosing dividends. But the dividends I got from Coke were so strong compared to the GE that I realized, based on this new strategy, it's time to start thinking about which companies really are the best for paying out dividends. So that leads me to the next point. Pay attention to your strategy. So what is it, your intention before you make a strategy. So you want to create residual income. That is a work piece. passive income is your money works instead of you. So I mentioned before, and I like to say this again because I think this is the piece that when it drives home for you, it's going to change all of your behaviors. When you earn, right? There's an economics flow. Perhaps I don't know if you guys are interested in the models of this, but if you email me, I'll send you the model, or you can just Google flow. Circular flow diagram in economics, and you remember that there are the people who provide the labor, land, and capital to the firms, right? So then they produce something to these places where something's being produced, and then that production, right, goes through the firm who then sells it, creates a market for it, and offers those finished products into the market, which the consumer buys. So the same person often, it's not direct. So as a whole, we the people are creating and we the people are consuming. And so when we understand that, then we can say, well, wait a minute. Maybe I don't want my labor to be what provides my consumption anymore. Maybe I don't want to work so hard. So you start to save. Remember this, I'm going to tell you guys this a lot because that's the piece that makes the magic. You save from the labor. You do the labor and you find a way to have more at the end of that labor than you spend. So whatever that strategy is for you, whether it's earning more income or spending less, and I have a whole book for that, The Money Makeover. And so then as you have that spread, you're going to save and you're going to fund the next piece of your life. I have a life model where I do mini retirements. So I will work and I'll take the excess and I'll save, and then I'll buy myself 2 to 3 years of guaranteed time off where I don't need to work again, and give myself the white space. And this course is a product of the very first month of my new white space for beginning this 2-year period. And then for me, it's a game. What else can I create in the middle of this 2 years that will then extend that 2 years into 3 and 4 and 5? So I tried this out in a couple of iterations before, and then I kind of got the model right. So now I'm actually doing it full time, which means living my life. I'm literally living my life full time. And that came from this model that I'm using. So one of the key components to understand to get on that path for that is to understand that you're making it, you're providing it, and you're consuming it. And the corporations are often taking a large chunk of that. So it's not that it's wrong to spend. It's just that be aware of where you've been encouraged to spend, where maybe you don't really need it, and maybe there's a better way. And so when you start to understand that, it's not a problem or difficult for you to let go of some of the things that you before needed. And now, okay, well, I could probably be okay without that for a little while, so that you can increase that savings amount. But maybe you don't want to have a mini retirement like I do. Maybe you're looking to invest and save money faster and faster, and also to save it so that someday you can finish working. And so, or have a nest egg or have more of something. So then you're going to just do the same pattern. You're going to save in the excess, but then you're going to take that excess. Same process. It's just that I stop and start doing what I want, where you could keep working and just keep building your nest egg even bigger. I don't wait for $1 million to get going in my life. So you take that and you invest it. So now you take that $100, you invest it, you get the 110. Remember, so now that's called passive income. The capital that you've had because you did the labor, you saved it, and you purchase it. Then we have land. And for land, we're going to imagine this being all other tangible assets, because this model was written a long time ago. So all of our other tangible assets are other things that we can do with the savings portion to bring forward the, what else can work for us. So residual income is more like that land piece. Right. So I like to give this distinction because this is the one area where students, I'm going to make passive income. And I'm like, passive income and residual income are different. Passive income typically requires having capital in advance to invest so that you can earn interest and then earn interest on your interest. That's how it works. Residual income is a little different. Residual income is, think about residual. What does it mean? It means the leftovers of, right? I have some residual sadness from my mom dying. That means a little bit left over. So think about the term and then how we use that term in finance. So residual income means it's the smaller portion that's left over from the bigger whole, right? So residual means we had something, some bigger whole whole, and I mean whole as in whole being, not hole in the ground. So the bigger whole that we have, like, okay, I have this whole package of work that I've created. I built a business and it made X amount of dollars. The bigger that is, the more we've had that piece in the beginning. And so residual income is when you set in place structures and systems so that the effort and the work you put forward into the universe today builds for you a way to continue to pay you over time, so that your effort can be reduced and reduced and reduced while the income still continues to grow. Okay, so maybe you have let's go with authors, because I love writing and I just randomly pop out books once in a while when they pour out of me. So authors, it works like this. So you do all this energy and all this work, and you write and you organize, and then guys, the writing part for me is the easy part. It's after that that's no fun. So you know the parts that work for you. And the reason I don't write more books is because of this part, the editing and the processing and the publishing and all the things that it takes to get it to market. So all of that is the beginning of your work as an author. And often the payout during that process for a year or 2 years even can be nothing, literally nothing. And then once you have the product, if you don't promote the book, if you don't put it out there, like I haven't been a good promoter of my own work until recently, because I wrote it from my wisdom and my knowledge, and then I went out and lived it and tested it. And then I found out, wow, I knew what I was talking about. I made the mistakes. I didn't listen to myself sometimes, and I suffered for it. I didn't listen to myself sometimes, and I was rewarded for it. And I actually, when I was ready to rebuild my own system, I got my own book out and I said, okay, we're going to follow these principles this time, Crystal. You know the wisdom. There's no reason not to do it. So you find that the book has all the energy and all the focus in the beginning. And then if you've done a good job and you've built a good system, if people took notice of your book because you really shared it everywhere, then it starts to become a bigger machine, because I love your book. I'm going to share it with my friends and they're going to buy it. And so then the marketing kind of takes over for itself. But the mother load of the work is there in writing the book. But you can't just write the book and then, okay, I did it and I'm done. So this is the difference between residual and passive. Passive, you make the money, you turn it over, and you watch it grow or not, depending on how well you invested it. And residual, you do the mother load of a work to create a thing, and then you have some measure of effort still required. And by effort, I simply mean your time, attention, money, systems, whatever. So for example, as an author, if I wanted to continue to have my books make money, I either need to be out speaking where people can hear about the book, or running internet campaigns where people can find me, or and depending on how much of that, it takes a lot in the beginning to get seen. Maybe then you can get more into an internet campaign where you just kind of feed yourself a slow, steady drip of funds from that book. So there's so much that goes into creating that, and you can't just walk away or it will fall away. That's the difference in residual. Passive means like, hey, got this over there working for me. Thanks. I look at Coin right now and I'm like, thanks for working for me today. You made more money for me than I made in my own energy and effort, right? So that's fun. But residual is very similar. So you know what work it takes in the beginning, and you've given it. And it usually is something, hopefully, that is your passion project, or something you have a massive skill in that you want to build this foundation, and then perhaps let that fund your passion project. And as you begin to put in those systems, that's what makes it residual. So residual income depends on the systems and structures that keep it operating. And then just like a coin laundry machine, you got to put the coins back in to keep it going once in a while, right? So you're going to keep some sort of, the system is going to tell you how much, right? Depending on your system. In Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek, his system is that 4 hours a day, 4 hours a week. I think he said on Mondays. I don't know if that's still true in his life. That looks a little dated, but 4 hours a week, he would sit down, he would do the admin, the emails, all the things that keeps his business flowing and floating and feeling operating. So like, what's the emergencies? What do people need to know from me? And he would do that once a week, right? So it's a residual income because it does require something of you to keep getting it. And so that's the difference, but it requires more in the beginning and less later. And the less later of the energy and effort, that's why we call it residual. So the leftover income from the efforts that you've done. And now you have smaller efforts made. If you've built good systems, your efforts should get smaller and smaller to continue that flow of income. That's why multi-level marketing, they kind of promote it based on this whole, you're going to get all these promoters and then you're going to have this giant income and you're never going to have to worry about money again. And that could be true if you did all that work and you built the systems to make sure that you, number one, start getting some passive income from all that extra money you're making, and two, build systems so that you know how much energy and effort you need to give on a regular basis to keep that machine running and keep the income flowing. So residual is all about putting in the energy, allowing yourself to understand that it takes some portion of your effort still, or your attention at least, to keep it going, and then measuring that, like, what does it take from me and what is the income that it provides? And then you can decide if it's worth it for you. So residual is going to require something of you versus passive, which is you put your money in and you hope it grows. Now, the difference is you have a lot more control with residual. Passive income, you're going to earn a smaller interest rate if you want to be super risk averse and get in super safe investments. I love municipal bonds for bridging that gap because you get a little bit higher of a return, and it's a higher likelihood that a municipal bond will pay than some other debts at that rate. So that's basically what you want to think about with your money, with your effort. The intention isn't that you completely finish and never need to work on that thing again, but it's that you build the systems and the processes, maybe hire the team as part of your process, so that it can continue to run. And we call that leveraged income. Let me rephrase that. That could be misconstrued. We leverage some things sometimes when we're borrowing debt, but that's called using leverage, right? So using the leverage of your past efforts to increase and enhance your present. Because think about this. If it took you 40 hours a week before, and you do that for 4 years, and you build systems and processes and teams and all that, and now it takes you 30 hours a week, you're already moving toward that. So now you have 30 hours a week to get all the same, right? And maybe you're even growing faster, but your time is less for that project. And ultimately, you want to build systems where that project perhaps has maybe 10 hours of your time or less, or even 10% of your time in a week. So if you're working 40 hours typically for a week, I'm not a fan of the 40-hour work week. I think it's actually counterproductive. I'm an economist and I'm about efficiency, not how much time. And I find that a good solid 3-day work week where you put in a good 8 to 10, 12 hours for me is much more effective than trying to spread it out over 5. But it's not that that's the proper way. That's the way for me. So find the work system. If you're working from home and you're like, I'm not really doing well with this, I'm struggling with the work from home, try mixing up your schedule and doing some things like that, because this is the kind of stuff that allows you to have residual income, because you do have to manage it. You do have to get in there and be on top of it still, even if it doesn't require a lot of your time and attention anymore. So get the practice of checking into those things and creating habits, and find that working space that works for you. I love to do a nice hard Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday sometimes, and that's my typical, but sometimes I feel more like digging in deep on a Monday or a Friday, and I do. Or sometimes the week just blows by and I didn't get as much done as I thought during the week, and I use Friday to catch up. So it's all flexible, but find the work. It's not really a work ethic. Find the work pattern that works for you so that you are most effective, most efficient. And then as you do that, you're going to start to get the concept of residual. Like, oh, wait a minute. I don't have to give what it says I have to give to get this done. I can actually do it more effectively. And over time, it's going to mean that you can have more and more development of your income, you can create more, you can invite more into your life without having to work more or to create more effort or more struggle. And I'm all about enjoying the fruits of our labor, and we do work, right? And so what I want to remind you, this course came to you because I had white space. This already, I'm seeing massive benefits happen because I offered this course, but it's here because I chose me and because I chose white space. And in that white space, my creative ideas came out. And instead of writing a book this time, I said, let's do a little mini video course. So if you've made it all the way here to day 26, you're like almost at the end of the book, guys. You've made it through, except you didn't have to do a lot of reading. It was mostly your own reflection and writing, right? And that's what reading is. That's what books are supposed to do, is give you some knowledge and then inspire you to take action, to integrate that knowledge, to use it in your life, and to find ways to make all of that work for you. I am so in love with everything that you're sending and telling me, and I appreciate you, and keep it going. Hashtag Money Challenge, the Gypsy Professor on Instagram. Please come tell us how you're doing. We've got the links at crystalgifford.com. If you haven't grabbed one of those books and you keep telling yourself you're going to, this is probably a good day to order. Amazon will have it to you within a couple of days. And just keep smiling, shining. And I invite you at the website, crystalgifford.com. I have tons of resources and tools for you. I have free stuff. I have stuff you can buy. Go there, take it, and enjoy. I'm making all of this for you. I love you, and I'm so glad you're here. And wherever you are in this journey, it's going to be amazing. Until next time, guys. Bye.